Okay, so let's get back to where we were. With that thing up there a little bit, you can see this. Now when I click on this, this gives you your pivot point options. And let's go top to bottom. We'll start with active element, which might have been where it was. There are two ways it would look the same way. I'll cover that in a sec. So when it's at active element, we first have to define what active actually is. Okay? So there are many programs that use this. Maya uses this. I don't think Lightwave does. Possibly Modo does. And I'm sure there's other apps that use it. But there's such thing as an active object. So you can select one object, two objects, three objects independently, and each time you select that one, it's the active object. That by itself makes complete sense. But what doesn't make immediate or obvious sense is that when you select and then shift select something, the last selected object becomes the active one, and the colors change of these selected objects. And the default, you know what, I realize I am actually using a different color scheme here, so let me explain what that is if you want to find that. Go to File, User Preferences, and under Themes, I have this set to Presets Graph. I believe that's the one I'm using. Yep. And you can do other ones. You can use Softimage, Blender 2.4 series. What else would be good? Back to black. You know, it's pretty awesome. Okay, so we're diverging a little bit here, but I like graph. Just kind of settled on that these last few weeks. So I'm not going to have to save that because that's where I was. So at any rate, mine is blue, and yours would probably be default of like yellow or orange or something. But at any rate, so shift select in my theme, it becomes white. The other one, the selected one, becomes blue. The active one becomes white. So now we have two selected and one active. So that means that with this set to active element, it means that which was last selected is the active element, meaning the center of that last selected object, which you can shift select to change at any time. And this is actually a very powerful feature when you need it. So that's what active element means. It just means that the last item that was selected, and there are a lot of things that use active objects, a lot of different operations you can do that consider the last one selected as active. I know that's very similar in Maya as well. I mean, the sequence with which you select things and then invoke some kind of tool makes a difference. So quickly, let's see if we can get down to the next one. That's median point. Now, the difference there is that if I have one thing selected, then it is the median point. Median mean the medium, the center of everything, like sort of the, not quite the bounding box center, but kind of like the medium position between all of these three things, right? So that's median, and that's why I said there was two of them that could look the same when I was doing this. But median, if you have more than one selected, it will just do its operation, its scaling, or what have you from that point. Okay, so the next one down is individual origins, and this one would probably require a whole other discussion by itself. But let's just suffice to say that if you can look at this, see what it's doing, that will make sense. I'll cover that later. And then 3D cursor, of course, that's wherever the 3D cursor is, which you can place various different ways. I'll go over that later. And then bounding box center, which is similar to median, but not really quite the same. Okay? So that's all of that for the action centers, and each one of those could get another video actually, or at least partially. Alright, so there you go.